Okay, so oops. Okay. This is so cool. When I was a child, I didn't get to see many pictures of like myself or like my family because we just didn't have that many. But recently, my mom found our old photo album. So I found the pictures that I was looking for. I can say that of the family I do know, they're pretty amazing. Never met her before, but from all the stories I ever heard about her, I wish I could have like met her and remembered. Hi.
Hi.
So can you introduce yourself? You don't have to use your real name. You could just say Dusty's mom.
I'm Dusty's mom.
So today, I want to talk to you about mama, like your mama.
Okay.
Your mama, she's actually your great.
No.
She's actually your grandmother, and she's my great-grandmother.
Yes.
So, do you know anything about like her early life?
I only know that she was from Rich Square, North Carolina, and that she was adopted. She didn't know who her real parents were, her biological parents.
You told me that she, like her birthday, the birthday she celebrated, she didn't know if that was like her real birthday.
That's true. We celebrated as August 20th, but once I was an adult, she let me know that she didn't know that to actually be her birthday because she didn't have a birth certificate. She only had a census certificate. So back then they did census, so she could only go by when the census was done. So she didn't know when her real birthday was. But her whole life we celebrated it as August 20th, never knowing when she was really born.
Do you know what year she was born?
Approximately, we believe 1917.
1917. Wow. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been through like many eras in like America, like Jim Crow, the Civil Rights Movement. So she saw it all.
She saw it all.
Do you know how she and like Daddy met?
She never said how they actually met. She told me things about Daddy that he didn't want me to know, but she never said how they I never heard the story of how they actually met. They were born the exact same year, and my daddy had his actual parents and his actual family. My mama didn't.
And they both were born and raised in North Carolina?
Rich Square, North Carolina, yes. And they got married somewhere in the 30s, so she was young when they got married also. They were sharecroppers, and the extent that I know about that is she told me the reason that she left North Carolina. All her friends and family were there, but she said that her and Daddy just had to leave because they would work the farm for a whole season, and then there would be hardly any money after working a whole crop. So eventually, after she didn't say how many years, they gave up and came to the north. Her daughters were adults when she left North Carolina, and because she was the matriarch that I didn't know when I was in the middle of it, they all followed her to Paterson, New Jersey. They didn't grow up here. They had their own husbands, but when Mom and Daddy moved, they followed.
I know that from stories that Paterson wasn't actually supposed to be the place that they settled down in, right?
It wasn't supposed to be the place. Her desire was to go to Buffalo, New York. She had a woman there that she had taken to be her sister, Bernice. And Bernice was in Buffalo. But when they got to Paterson, many of my daddy's friends had settled in Paterson, New Jersey. So he didn't want to go any further. So she gave in to what he wanted to do. Buffalo was even further north than Paterson, New Jersey. Buffalo, my daddy didn't drive on the highway. My mama never drove at all. She never got a license. So that was approximately 6+ hours from Paterson, New Jersey to Buffalo. So no, she never visited Buffalo. But they wrote letters. I wrote letters for her. They kept in touch by phone, but then they stayed close through the years.
Talked about writing letters for Mama. So for like the time period they were born in, did Daddy and Mama know how to write and read?
Of course, my mama or daddy didn't know how to read and write. My mama learned to write her name pretty neatly. My daddy actually never learned how to write his name. My mama never had the opportunity to go to school because, as I mentioned, she was adopted and she was expected to work from a young age. My daddy had the opportunity to go to school, but he elected not to.
Was Mama adopted to work, or was she like adopted by like a family that just wanted a child?
She didn't elaborate. She just said she was adopted and not allowed to go to school and that she had to work.
So, but was her adopted like family, were they black also?
She didn't say. I assumed so. For that time period that they lived in, I'm assuming that her family was black. She said that they were very mean to her.
Mama and Daddy, they had 3 children.
Yes, 3 girls.
So there was Aunt Brula May.
Yes.
Then there was Aunt Rosalie.
Yes.
And then there was my grandma, Dorothy.
Right.
What did Mama do, like, for work?
In the South, in North Carolina, she was sharecropping. In New Jersey, in Paterson, New Jersey, she worked at a pickle factory where they jarred pickles.
And from what I've heard, like, over the years, like they kept the pickle factories very cold, and she was standing in water.
Yes. By the time she was older, one of her legs were actually bent. I'm just not even sure how she stood on it. It was very painful, but one of her legs actually was bent, like going out to the right side. And she still walked on it and all, as long as she could, up until she was about 81. She still walked on the painful bent leg. She said it turned that way from standing in the water, severe arthritis.
And what did Daddy do?
Daddy worked as a janitor. He had, although he didn't elaborate, I got snippets of that. He also did janitorial work for diners. Triangle Diner, it used to be called, in Hawthorne, New Jersey, as well as apartment buildings, janitorial work.
They weren't very, rich,
No.
But they did have, their own house.
They were renters, of course, when they first got to Paterson because they didn't have any money to buy a house. Mama was a great saver. My daddy was not as great of a saver. But because she was such a saver, they were able to buy a house.
So, this is just like a thing that I remember, that my grandma, she used to have a boyfriend, and that they used to go to different diners that were recently non-segregated, or were they segregated?
They either was recently non-segregated or still segregated, and I didn't know it at the time, but they were actually doing sit-ins, going to eat at places where you knew full well they did not want to serve. If it was legal, you knew they did not want to serve black people. But he would make them serve him.
Did Mama ever hear about these, like, stories?
She did not. She was in Patterson when Martin Luther King, before he became famous, when he came to Patterson to School 28. My mama wasn't like I don't want to say she wasn't a friendly sort of person, but she didn't have a lot of friends. She's a very serious person. If you looked at Mama, you might think she was mean by looking at her, but really, my daddy actually was more strict than my mama. Like, Pete and the neighbors thought that, oh, Mr. Harold, that was his name. He just was so wonderful. But little did they know, like, inside the house, I mean, I was a daddy's girl, but he was pretty strict. Whereas Mama was like a little bit more lenient. But looking at her, they thought she was the mean one. But she wasn't really.
I have, like, a picture of her.
Yep, one of her suits, her daughters actually bought all her clothes too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mainly her middle daughter, and my mom too bought her clothes. Like, she wanted for nothing. She was the matriarch, so after she passed, there was like money like all over the house because people just would hand her money and she would, just stick it here and there.
Mama also helped, like, raise you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, can you tell me a bit, like, what her parenting, like, style was?
How she parented was basically, you were not allowed to ask any questions or question my grandparents in any way. For the most part, they were mama and daddy to me. They were mom and daddy to my whole family, but basically I lived in the same house with them, so they were really my mom and daddy. So, for instance, cooking, whatever my mama decided was going to be dinner for that day, everybody was eating that dinner. They were eating at a specific time, and the kitchen was cleaning clothes at a specific time. You weren't allowed to question anything. You were just expected to wear whatever was put out for you. Laundry was always done by her. Everything was ironed and put in your drawer. Down every single thing, even your sheets. Food shopping was done once a week with the family. I really don't recall my actual mom intervening too much. She always had a job and she always bought nice clothes for me, my mom, that she was in charge of that. But the actual parenting came from my grandparents. I learned how to cook from her. I learned how to take care of a house from her. I had to tweak her parenting style for a little bit because it was a little bit harsh by today's standards, her parenting style. There was no crying. There was no not going to school because you didn't feel well. So I learned everything from her, but some things just had to be tweaked a bit. I learned how to be a mom, what moms should do. I just knew we were Baptists. We went to church every Sunday. We went to New Year's Eve service. They didn't read and write, so we didn't really do the midweek Bible study. And we didn't do Sunday school, because of the reading and writing thing. But we were faithful churchgoers. I don't know if she was even Baptist when she was in North Carolina. I do know that I was shocked that my daddy wasn't baptized. He wasn't baptized till I was an actual adult. I was over 20. Like, he would just go to church with, us every Sunday. And I got baptized when I was maybe 11, 12. And here I am. I'm always thought my dad was a member of the church. I always just assumed he was baptized. He was Baptist, going to a Baptist church. And then he just, when they opened the doors of the church, because this is what they do at church, at the end of the service, they open the doors for anybody that might want to join the congregation. He went to the front and joined the church. Now, I was floored because I never knew he wasn't a member of the church. I thought we were all members. Thinking back, I used to love the cookouts, though. I think I like the 4th of July cookout and Labor Day. like even better than Christmas is because, you got to have, New Jersey is cold. So the party was outside during the summer. Whereas, you know, everybody was over, but everybody inside of a house, it was just a lot of people inside the house. The summer parties was much more fun. That was the fun part of my childhood, growing up with the family and the parties. And everybody cooking together, bringing stuff, and then still cooking at the house. They brought stuff and they cooked at the house. It was great.
How would you describe Mama to people?
She was tough, but great. She took good care of me. Like, I don't remember in the actual caring of me, I don't recall too much that my mom did. I don't know, maybe it was the situation that we lived there and just my grandmother basically took over the raising of me. But up until the end, I knew that my mama and daddy never left me alone. So up until the end with them, I knew that I was never going to leave them alone until they left this world. Even if they didn't know I was there, I was going to be there.
She sounds like an amazing woman.
The funniest is when I had my son and we would take my son to church as a baby. She would just was like, he would be fussing with me, you got to keep him quiet inside the church. She would just tell me, hand him here. And she had this little thing she would do where she would rock both kids, to sleep, just on her lap. They would just go to sleep. Kids could not stay awake in her lap. She had to put you to sleep lap.
Every generation kind of looked up to her when she was, alive.
She was mama to the whole family. They were mama and daddy. Holidays were all set around. I didn't know it at the time when she was alive. Not just Thanksgiving and Christmas, 4th of July, Memorial Day, cookouts, and we had a huge backyard. Cookouts, everybody would come from down south for all the family. And so when she passed, I don't think I knew she was the matriarch till she passed, because when she passed, all that was over. There were no more gatherings, no more holidays.
Funny, because as a child, I always we always took pictures, and I was just one day just got lost. Oh my god, that's me when I was little. I look so different. Okay, wait, let me show you. This is Mama. I don't actually, all I know her as is Mama. I don't even know her first name, but she's Mama, and she had my grandmother from my mother's side and 2 other children. That's it. Thank you for letting me interview you.
No problem. I love talking about my mama. She's very missed.
If you could describe her in one word, what would the word be?
Let me think about that. I don't know if any one word could describe Mama.
Then I'll give you 5.
She was just the best person ever. Just such a good heart. Any way she could help you, she would. Nobody like her. I've never since been here 55 years. I've never since met anybody like her. She was my best friend.
You're my best friend?
Yeah. I thought my daddy was my best friend, and I was closer to him before he passed. But then I realized my mama was my best friend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.